Welcome to week 17 of the Sunday Spread remote style. All right, we all over the place. Everyone enjoying the holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hope you had fun time. Hope you watched a lot of sports. Hope you won a lot of money. Once again, this is the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. As always, Sean Bell rocking with you, Barrett Brooks over there, and Devin Caney had to handle some things. So she's out, but don't worry, she'll be right back next week with all her TD parlays because she won money again last week. So we need her back on the
How does she
show.
do it, man? How does she do it,
She knows how to do it. All right. So
bro?
we need to have her back on next week so she can win us a little bit of money. So our producer, Kenny Henderson, will be joining us for the majority of the show. Happy holidays, fellas. How was your holiday week, first and foremost?
You know what? Mine was great. Got the grandkids up, kicking with the grandkids. Although my Eagles lost, and I know we're gonna get into that, man. But at the end of the day, man, I had a great holiday, man. Great Christmas, and going forward, man, I won a little money, man. But hey, I finally give up. The Cardinals, terrible, terrible, man. Kyler Murray has played horribly the last 4 weeks. I tried to stick with him, but I just can't do it, man. Dumb is dumb, and I was dumb for sticking with him, bro.
You was riding with them for the entire season. You
I
you thought
was,
you
man.
thought that
I
was going
was.
to be the playoff team out in the NFC West. Kenny, how was your holidays?
Right.
It was very good. Had to watch the Bears, unfortunately, yesterday, but other than that, the Christmas was good. Spent time with the girlfriend, made more money on the scratch offs, the lottery tickets than actual gambling. But we'll get back at it this week.
Oh my god!
Oh
Hey,
my
first of
goodness.
all, let me ask y'all this, man. And I know this is a football show, but like, when is enough with football? We've had terrible games. Wednesday games, terrible game. Monday night game. I don't even know. Like, I forgot what week it was because we had a Monday game and then a Wednesday game. It was like we had zero break, right? Like everything is running
Right.
together.
Right.
And you can see the product on the field suffering because you're making guys play 3 games in 11 days. You're making them do all these things where they play on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, at what point, Barrett, do you look at this and go, all right, man, again, I know the NFL is the NFL and we love it and we're going to watch and people are going to watch regardless. But at what point do you
Right.
say,
Right.
okay, we need to look out for these players and we need to look out for the actual product on the field?
It's the almighty dollar. They talking about 17 games. We're gonna go to 18. You know what I'm saying? Really, really quick. I can almost guarantee that. But at the end of the day, you're talking about guys only have 2-3 days rest before a game. Man, come on, man. That's not cool. You know, your body. It takes you at least 4 days to get your body going again. You know, after playing a game. I mean, we're talking about a gladiator sport. You know, and like myself, I had 6 bona fide concussions that they, diagnosed, and I had to sit out, for it was 3 days back then. I sat out for 3 days, came back, practiced that week, and was out there playing. But it's tough. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? Playing on Christmas Day, on after you played on Sunday, that's almost inhumane. So they can't talk to me about they're trying to make the players safe. They're not trying to make the players safe. It's a gladiator sport. So at the end of the
So let
day,
me ask
the almighty dollar reigns.
Let me ask you this before we get to Kenny. Let me ask you, what is the week of preparation like on a short week? Like, explain to people why it's so tough,
Well,
especially
see,
from
I've
your
never
point of view, an offensive lineman. Like, what makes the
right.
week so tough to recover?
It's your body. That's it. Your body recovering. I mean, people don't understand what a concussion is. Man, concussion is a brain bruise. You know what I'm saying? Just to let you know, you shake your brain up in your head. But I mean, just if you go through a week, a normal week, Sunday you play, Monday we were off. Tuesday, we no Monday ran sprints, and got your body loosened up, run all that lactic acid out your body, lifted weights, went in and watched the film. Tuesday's the day off. Wednesday, that's when you padded up and ready to hit again. These guys went from playing on Sunday and then turned right back around and some of the teams like the Ravens played on Saturday, but you're going right into hitting, like it's not even practice. You're going into a complete game. And I don't see how your body was able to go out there and play like that, man. I just don't understand how they were ready to play after only having a day off, watching the film and going straight. In fact, they probably didn't watch the film. They probably went straight into, breakdowns of the team they're going to play. Like the breakdown was easy for the Ravens. The Ravens went right into already played them one time, so they used the stuff they had from the previous game and went right into playing the Steelers again. They were the better team, but that's the type of thing I can't get used to that. I played on, when I played for the Detroit Lions, then I played with the Steelers, and we always played on holidays. But to play on a Wednesday, I don't know, man. I mean, that's tough, man. You only had one day to really recover. Then you're going in, you're having a walkthrough on Tuesday, and then playing again on Wednesday. That's tough for your body. You know what I'm saying? Almost, I will say it's inhumane for them to ask those guys to do that.
Yeah, Kenny, from your point of view as the Chicago Bears, having to watch your team, and I know it's been a struggle anyway, regardless, but then to have to watch your team struggle and then not get the proper time to prepare, and then go into a game like that where you see 6-3. What was your thought process in that game?
Well, it's just another one of those short week games. Even the Christmas games were not very fun to watch. Houston was clearly not prepared. Pittsburgh was outmanned. So yeah, I mean it's really tough to see your team play like that, especially a team that hasn't won since October. It's been a few months since the Bears have been able to win a game, and yesterday was a good opportunity to do that. And it's the short week plays part into it, but as well, I think you got to look at, the team has so many issues. They had a chance on that last drive yesterday to go ahead and take the lead or at least tie, and they didn't even know how to handle that situation there at the end. So, but just to Barrett's point on the short week, especially the Christmas games, like it was really frustrating with the NFL going on Christmas, trying to spend time with your family, like from a fan's perspective as well. I shouldn't have to be worrying about what's going on in Chiefs versus Steelers when I'm trying to celebrate Christmas with my family, because we work in this space. We have to know what's going on in the games, and the NFL decides to put these games on Christmas. And now we have to all of a sudden, what's the score of the Chiefs Steelers? My fantasy football team, how's it doing? We shouldn't have to be worrying about that. It's Christmas Day. Let all these guys play on Sunday, and we get better football in return as well.
Hey, Kenny, Sean.
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna say, bro? It was bully ball on Wednesday. Bully ball. The NFL know that they're the biggest ticket in town, and they're gonna bully the NBA. Bully the NBA. You know what I'm saying? It used to be sovereign ground for the basketball, for NBA. But no, what do they want to do? They let YouTube go in and bully them into playing NFL games on Wednesday, on Christmas Day. And that's just bully ball. They just bullied the NBA.
Yeah, my question is, when does the product going to matter to fans? Like the NBA gave you a great product because their games are great. The NFL gave you a terrible product, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to get 24 million views on Netflix. I just wonder when the product and how good the product is going to matter in regards to what the NFL wants to do in the future. But if we keep watching it, it doesn't really matter. They're still going to just
that's right. Netflix,
make money. Let's talk about some of the players who did some things. Lamar Jackson, his numbers are ridiculous. His numbers are better this year than they were his MVP season. But everyone's sort of given the MVP to Josh Allen already. Josh Allen, still the front runner, minus 250, while Lamar Jackson is plus 160 when it comes to the MVP race. The next person is Saquon at 14-1. That's just not going to happen, unfortunately for Saquon, unfortunately for running backs.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, Kenny, I'll start with you. Is it a possibility down the stretch in these last two games that he can catch him?
Oh, it's definitely a possibility, but I'm on Team Allen. This has become a real debate in the last few weeks because Lamar's stats are so great, but I look to two different things. Number one, I look at Lamar losing to both teams like the Raiders and the Browns and bad losses like that. And then I look at Josh Allen and some of the wins he's had against Kansas City, against Detroit. I mean, Kansas City and Detroit are the two best teams in the league record-wise. They're both number one seeds. He beat both of them. He beat Kansas City by 9. He went into Detroit. They hung 48 points. And he's also the first player to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game. I just think this has been Allen's MVP year and all those moments included in that. This is just another good year for Lamar. And statistically, it might be his best year. But when you look at the loss column, they've got 5 losses. He's doing his thing running. He's doing his thing passing. But like I said, we've seen this out of Lamar before. He's a 2-time MVP winner. I think that there is a little voter fatigue involved, especially with my opinion as well. I think Allen deserves it, but I do think that if Allen starts to skid here towards the end, I think Lamar Jackson's definitely got a shot, especially with the way he's playing right now.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, that's tough, bro. That's tough when you look at it because number one, you look at the statistics. His statistics are just bananas. He's got, he's what I don't know how many yards away from what is it? Okay, he has 3,955 yards. He has 39 touchdowns, only 4 INTs. When you look at those type of numbers, man, it's like it's hard to say. All right, I mean, for instance, look at Cincinnati. Look at their quarterback. He's had an unbelievable year. I mean, he's by far right now, he's playing the best out of any quarterback in the league. And what's going on? They're losing because the defense can't stop anybody. I mean, they're leaking they're leaking oil, and they're gonna need an oil change every 2 miles. That's how bad their defense is. But he is throwing up MVP numbers, man. And I mean, it's hard, it's hard for me to say, all right, is Josh Allen playing better than him? No. Is he playing better than Lamar? No. But yet his team, he's the MVP of his team, so they're putting him in a position where he's going to be MVP of the league. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is his year. No matter what, those losses on both guys, that are bad. But man, Josh has just played so much better than, and within the framework of his team, and his team is a total team as opposed to those guys, having leaky faucets every once in a while with their defenses.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing is Derrick Henry. Like you look at Josh Allen, you go, who Josh Allen got? Right? Like I know Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson is doing his thing. He's going to have better numbers than Josh Allen, but you got a guy who is going to get 2,000 yards rushing. I don't think people realize that because they're so focused on Saquon. Derrick Henry has 1,783 yards. He's on pace to have over 2,000 yards, right? Like he's not going to get the Eric Dickerson record because it's just way too many yards, but because he almost needs 300, but he can get 2,000 yards. He's on pace for 2,000 yards. Josh Allen, James Cook, really good, right? But he ain't got a Hall of Famer playing at a Hall of Fame level next to him. Like Josh Allen is asked to do more. And again, like Kenny said, you face the number one team in the AFC and the number one team in the NFC. And you put up 30 points and 48 points respectively against those two teams. Like those are ridiculous numbers. And again, you did it without another stud in sight. You did it without another Hall of Famer. You did it without another Pro Bowler, likely, right? Like I don't think they have another skill Pro Bowler on their team. James Cook won't make the Pro Bowler. None of their wide receivers are Pro Bowlers. Their tight end ain't gonna be a Pro Bowler in a year where Pro Bowl matters again because you're not playing the game. So fish stringers. You don't have anything else. So it's Josh Allen and nobody else. Like that was actually, even though I was wrong about this, that was actually my argument when it came to the Heisman. And when they talked about Genty versus oh man, why am I blanking? Hunter. I was like, Hunter may be the most outstanding player, but if this was a value award, I was like, he's playing with a number one overall pick in Shedeur Sanders. Like Genty is brought his team to the playoffs. But again, in college, the Heisman is most outstanding as opposed to value. And the value that Josh Allen brings to the Buffalo Bills, again, it's just a little bit higher than Lamar right now because, again, Derrick Henry, 2,000 yards. Like it's you got a stud next to you, and nobody else really has that. Again, in Saquon, a cute story.
It's like the Eagles with Saquon. Yep. You got two great receivers with Saquon. You got a really good quarterback and Hurts. And then you look at how they're constructed. Their defense is ranked top 10 defense. So he's got the total package with him, even though he's running the way he's running, and he's an unbelievable talent. But you think about what Josh is making a lot with nothing. I mean, look at his favorite tight end has been out this time, but yeah, he's been able to go out and still rack up yards and play the way he's been playing. I mean, I get it, man. I definitely get it. You're talking about an outstanding guy, but I understand. I would vote for Josh Allen also. I try to make all these different scenarios. I got to vote for him too. If I did have a vote.
And it seems like every other award, if we look at the awards, is sort of locked in, right? Like the offensive player of the year is going to be Saquon. The defensive player of the year is going to be TJ Watt. Either the offensive rookie of the year. At one point, you thought Bo Nix may be able to get in there, but it's certainly going to be Jaden Daniels now that they straighten things out. The only thing that I thought would be a little more questionable is Jarrett versus Kenyon Mitchell. But Jarrett versus minus 500, Kenyon Mitchell is plus 400. So it doesn't look like he has a chance, but it kind of felt like, again, not a cornerback. Cornerbacks don't get that type of love all the time, Kenny. But doesn't it feel like Quinyon, based on what he did against top targets, should be a little more in the conversation for rookie of the year defensively?
He's got another stud with him in Cooper DeJean, who's also a rookie as well, that's taken a little shine away from him. Quinyon's obviously, the island corner over there. Cooper's playing a lot of slot. But, yeah, I mean, I think that the numbers should probably be a little bit closer because Verse has had some games where he's kind of gone quiet. It's just hard for a corner because, I mean, we even see with Depoy, how often does a corner win it? It's always an edge rusher. It's always – so, I mean, you look at – same thing with defensive rookie of the year. You have to give the edge rusher the edge, especially if he's having the Rams making the playoffs has a lot to do with it too. His verse is a big reason for that. So, I would be torn though on who I'd vote for because I think Quinyon is the better player this season, but yet I think the edge rusher just gets the slight nod, especially with leading the Rams to the playoffs.
Yeah, when you think about that battle right there, Verse only has 4.5 sacks. As compared to Quinyon does not have an interception this year. So I think that's really, really hurting him. Now, if he goes these last two games and gets a pick or two, it might reverse things in the voters' minds like, okay, yeah, we should give it to him. And it's tough. It's like you said, I mean, for years and years, nobody threw the Deion side because he garnered that much respect. So even though he didn't have to defend a lot of passes, they respected him as such that, they wouldn't throw to his side. And that's exactly what happened with Quinyon. They're throwing to the other side. They're throwing at everybody else.
Cornerbacks never get the chance to have the stats, the flashy stats in order to win it. All right, when we come back, underdogs. Again, this has been a year of underdogs. A lot of underdog teams have gotten upsets, and you won a lot of money if you picked underdog teams. So next segment, we're talking about the underdogs. Who can get upset? Can the Lions? I mean, they basically locked in the 1 seed, but can they be upset by the 49ers? Well, the Cowboys taking on the Eagles, rivalry game. Is there an upset there with Kenny Pickett being the quarterback? We'll talk about who we're picking for upsets coming up next on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. Once again, Barrett Brooks, Kenny Henderson, and Devin Caney will be back next week. It's upset time. Let's just talk about the upsets that we had last week for a little bit, okay? We had the Panthers beating the Cardinals, basically ending the Arizona Cardinals' playoff chances. The Cowboys beating the Buccaneers. Again, the Cowboys have sort of been an upset team, a team that sort of, hey, Michael Parsons is back, and so we can upset some teams. And again, we're not going to the playoffs, but we can mess up your playoff chances. So the Buccaneers they can still make the playoffs, but that was a big loss for them. And then, again, the biggest upset, the Eagles and the Commanders in a game that was just wacky, in my opinion. How do you get 5 turnovers and lose? I don't think I've ever heard of that. You are +3 in the turnover margin and lose. It was just, again, being here in Philadelphia and watching that game, it was just a weird game. Because if you just look at the stats at the end of the game where it comes to time of possessions, turnovers, you would think the Eagles should have dominated this game. And they were not able to win. The Washington Commanders were able to come back in this game. So with that said, we had 3 big upsets last week. Let's talk about what upsets could possibly happen this week. Kenny, I'll start with you. What are you looking at for an upset special?
I obviously love this one, and we're gonna see if I look like an idiot or not when this is playing out because the game will be wrapping up. But I wanted to give it out. Broncos money line. I want to give it out to you guys. Broncos on the money line to beat the Bengals on Saturday. Sean Payton's a much better coach than Zach Taylor. The Bengals are banged up on the offensive line. T. Higgins he's probably gonna play, but he's banged up. I just look at it like you're getting a lot of value here. They're also +3.5 if you want to take the points on a better team that's better coached. And I know it's Joe Burrow against Bo Nix, but I feel like, and the Bengals are at home, but I feel like that's looking at on a surface level. Because like I said, this Broncos team has had some special moments this year, and this Bengals team kind of the opposite, where they play well enough to win, especially on the offensive side of the football, but they find ways to lose. And you look in the betting market here, people continue to give Cincinnati love and they continue to doubt Denver. And I think the same storyline continues as the season goes on, and Denver clinches up the 7 seed or at least a playoff spot on Saturday in beating the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's interesting because, again, the Bengals still have a slight chance to make a playoffs. Very, very, very slight. But if they win their next 2 and then a couple teams have some losses, they can sort of get in. So they're still technically playing for something. You know what I mean? They're still technically playing for something, even though it's a very outside shot. While the Denver Broncos hold on to that 7th spot, right? They're 9-6, 2 games ahead of the Colts, the Miami Dolphins, and the Cincinnati Bengals. So they just need to win 1 game, or they need those teams to just lose 1 game in order for them to get in. So it's a game that means something.
On Saturday.
Yeah, but the Broncos have played a lot better football. So that is going to be an interesting one, and I'm surprised the Broncos, being the better team all year, are underdogs in this one, despite the Bengals, having the unbelievable offense, but they're going to be banged up a little bit. What do you think, Barrett?
I think I'm going into my upset. I'm going with Packers over the Vikings. I mean, you got a divisional game, and this is one of those games where you got to have your totality of your game ready to play. And I think at this point, the Green Bay Packers have turned the corner. Now they're playing very adequate defense. Defensively, they're getting at the people. They're getting healthy. Their DBs are playing a lot better than they were at the beginning of the year. And I think, the rookie defensive coordinator has really put himself in a position where he's now calling plays and he's used to this NFL speed of the game. So I'm thinking it's a really good chance that the Packers beat the Vikings with it being a divisional game. So that's my biggest game that I'm looking at as far as an upset. But then I go through the schedule of games, and man, we just got through talking about Josh Allen, but I like the Jets in this game. For some reason, I like the Jets. My feelings are going.
Why?
Just I'm feeling chemistry. I'm feeling underdog mentality. I'm feeling that that you didn't really pissed off that old man and playing quarterback, man. And I think they have.
He's washed.
Huh?
He's washed.
I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling that mojo. I'm feeling the mojo, bro. I'm feeling the mojo. You know what I'm saying? It's am I gonna bet money on it? Yes, I am. I'm gonna bet money on it. I am going with Jets with the points. You know what I mean? I'm going Jets with the points.
Barrett, don't lose your money before the holidays, man. Them grandkids need that money, man. They need more gifts, man. They need more going into the new year, man. Don't lose all your money placing.
Do you really think Josh Allen and them are paying any attention to what the Jets are doing right now? They're like, you know what? They're probably practicing hard. In fact, they might take a day off, thinking about this Jets team, which is going to give them a little edge. Them going in, hey, we can do this. We can beat them. So I'm going with the points. Not overall beating them, but I'm going with points.
I think the Jets are so bad it doesn't matter. We can overlook y'all, and it doesn't really freaking matter. Y'all are that bad. The interesting one that you said before, the Packers-Vikings is basically a push-up, right? Like that game was minus 105 for the Packers, minus 115 for the Vikings. So it's a slight edge to the Vikings, but it's basically a push. It's a 1 point. You know what I mean? The Packers are +1 in this game. So that's a push them, even though the Vikings are at home. So that says that the Vegas feels like the Packers are the better team, because normally 3 points are given to the home team. But right. Different. So I'm with you. I think the Packers, and we'll talk about this at a later date, especially when the playoffs come around. I think the Packers may be the most dangerous team in the NFC. If you're not looking at the top guys, if you go, all right, forget about the 1 seed and the 2 seed, who can make a run? I think it's the Packers, because they keep getting better. But the games I'm looking for upsets, I'm kind of looking at Cowboys-Eagles. And I'm not saying this to piss off Barrett or piss off Devin. But who are you with Kenny Pickett? Right? Like, the Cowboys have played good football. Like, don't get it twisted. Now that they got Michael Parsons back, now over the last 4 or 5 weeks, they played good football. They won 4 out of their last 5. beating the Buccaneers who can go to the playoffs, beating the Commanders who are going to the playoffs. They played solid football with great defenses, and I get it. CeeDee Lamb is going to be out. But when you have a divisional game and you have your defense on point and you got a team that desperately wants to beat you just to spite you, I think the Cowboys are going to have a good chance because I don't know what Kenny Pickett could bring you. You saw what happened. Jalen was in the game. It was 21-7. Again, we're going to talk about this game more later. It was 21-7. Kenny Pickett comes in, and there were some big drops, and I don't think Kenny Pickett played terrible. But then the offensive dynamic just changed drastically. They couldn't score touchdowns off of turnovers, and they lose that game. So I just think division rival, Cooper Rush has played good football. Their defense has played really well. That's going to be one of the most interesting games of the week. And I believe the spread is 7.5. So I definitely would pick a 7 flat. I definitely would pick the Cowboys to cover the 7. But I think the Cowboys can have a chance to upset if, again, they go, all right, it's 9 men in the box. Saquon, you're not getting off. You saw the second half against Washington. You're not getting off. Kenny Pickett, let's see what you really got. And I don't know what Kenny Pickett got. So that Cowboy game is the interesting game for me. What do y'all think about that?
I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. Looking at that game, this is a game tailored for what the Eagles do. They're gonna run the rock. And it's gonna be a totally different game plan than what Kenny Pickett had against, when he entered the game against the Commanders. They're gonna have an offense, for his skill set. Once Jalen left and they were running Saquon, they would just crash the ends. And you crash the ends like that, all you got to do is run boot. He boots out of the box. He's going to be hitting the tight end or a deep cross or going across. They'll have a game plan for him to really take advantage of his skill set. And that's just 1, 2, 3, getting the ball out of his hands, getting it to his weapons. That's what they're going to do. If they try to load the box, it'll be a great day for Smitty and it'll be a great day for Brown. So they'll take advantage of that. I think the biggest thing when you look at on Sunday is it's going to be raining. First of all, they disrespected the game anyways, and they moved it from 4:25 or 4:30 to 1 o'clock. So that's already disrespecting them, as a whole, because they lost the Commanders. So the Eagles are going to be pissed off because of that, number one. Number two, they had a player get ejected for talking. CJGJ got ejected. Now he is the guy that, handles the middle of the field. So that was another, thing that, hurt him in that game. And then you look at it also, Sweat didn't play for a whole 2 quarters, and Saquon didn't play for a quarter and a half. So all those things led to the Commanders just barely beating them. So they got a chip on their shoulder going into Dallas. You know what I'm saying? A huge chip on their shoulder. Now, I'll say this about Dallas. Dowdle has become a running back. I think out of the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's had 3 games of 100 yards or more. And that running game has really helped out, their quarterback, Cooper Rush. So they have a legitimate opportunity, and that defense is going to ball. I just think, they're going to be beat up, and the Eagles are going to play such a physical brand of football that they're not going to be able to handle it, man. The Eagles are pissed off, and Dallas is going to reap the rewards of what Commanders did and really beat up on them.
All right, well, we'll talk about that game a little bit more and the implications of that game. Kenny, is there any other game that you're looking at and you're going, that could be an upset?
We can't hear you, Kenny.
We can't hear you, Kenny. You're sort of mic was muted for a second.
I'm sorry, I had to mute the mic because we had sirens in the background. My bad.
Oh, God.
You're in Chicago, bro. That's the shot.
Anyway, I was saying, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Eric Dickerson came out and said that Barkley's not going to do it. So this is a big game for Barkley to show that he can potentially get close going into that last game against the Giants. I just wanted to add.
Let me say this. I saw some of that quote, and I respect Eric Dickerson for being real, right? Because what he said was, I don't want him to break it, right? And he had an extra game. If he breaks it, all right, Saquon's a cool dude. It is what it is. But I feel like that's what most people think. I want you to break my record that I've held for so many years? No, I don't want you to break it. I would be the same freaking way if I held a record. I want my record to stand for life. I don't want nobody else to break it. Again, I may respect you, love your game, yada, yada, yada. But I want my record to stand. So I respect, for the first time, I felt like someone who held the record kept it real. Right? I know, again, Philly fans, Barrett's gonna be annoyed about it, but he kept it real. I know I don't want you to break my record.
Well, you see what was it? Mark Gastineau and Brett Favre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel it. They don't want them records broken. But I'll tell you what, literally, Saquon may have 200 yards. That means he only needs 68 yards to break the record against the Giants. No matter where they are, if he only needs if he gets 200 or close to 200 rushing the rock against that defense, this Dallas defense, and it could be a possibility. Like I said, it's supposed to be rainy and 60 degrees on Sunday. That's huge. Weather is huge. So they're not going to be throwing the ball around. They're going to be trying to run the rock, and he has that breakaway speed. I could see a big rushing game for both teams, and he gets, maybe 180. He gets 180. That means
you're just throwing out numbers that are like 180, 200. I know Saquon could do it, but
anybody else?
Dallas rush defense, they're bad.
Yeah, really bad. You know what I'm saying? And plus, you're going to be in the mud. I just don't see them being able to stop him in the mud because it's going to, like I said, 60 degrees, warm outside. You're going to have some pissed off fans there also. This is going to be a really good game, a knock 'em, slobber knocker type of game that's just going to come off the rock, O-line against D-line, trench warfare. I think that really bodes well to this Eagles team.
Kenny,
but
I don't see it happening. Just because I remember Barry Sanders having a couple chances to get to 2,000 and do some things in the type of games and the type of situations in those final games where it was like, I remember one particular year, and I don't remember the year, but it'd be like Barry had like 60 yards because it was like, my only job as a Cowboy is for you not to get off. Pause.
Right.
Like my only job is for you to have a bad game. It's going to be 9 men in the box, 10 people up there. I don't care if AJ has 140 yards and Devontae has 200 yards. Long as Saquon doesn't get 100, that's all I'm talking about as a Cowboy defense. Long as Saquon will you can have Dallas Goedert get 200 yards. I don't care what you do in the pass game. The run game ain't going to work. So that's the mindset that the Cowboys and the Giants are going to have in these last games. Like, we're playing for nothing. The only thing we're playing for is for you, Saquon, not to get a record.
Saquon had 255 in one game, bro. 255.
Yeah, but that's when they played it honestly. We're trying to win a game. Let's play this honestly. We're going to play, 7-man in the box. We're going to do normal defenses. It ain't going to be normal defenses, Barrett. You know it. It's going to be, pass for 400 yards. I don't give a damn. You ain't running the ball on us. And that's how I will. Huh?
I was going to say, can you do that with A.J. Brown and Smitty on the outside?
I wouldn't care. I would not cover AJ. Fine, just go run to the end zone. I don't care.
Just off spite. Just off spite.
We're not even going to throw a corner out there, so you have to throw it. But this man ain't getting a record on me. That's how petty I am. I won't cover you. There would be 11 people in the offensive line's face before I let a record be broken on me as a divisional rival. No freaking way. That's just, again, I'm petty. I don't care. All right, when we come back, we got to do our touchdown parlays without the queen. The queen ain't here. So we're going to talk about our touchdown parlays from last week and break down what touchdowns we think are going to happen this week and people who are going to get multiple touchdowns. There's a bunch of guys who got multiple touchdowns that I didn't bet on last week, and I was pissed off about it. So we're going to talk about that this week coming up on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. Once again, Barrett Brooks, Kenny Henderson in for week 17. It's touchdown parlay time. It's time to figure out who we think is going to get in the end zone and who's going to make us a little bit of bread because of that. And the second chance TD. You know what I wish? I'm mad because, I feel like if you have a parlay for a first touchdown score, it should count. If you're going to give me the second chance, that should count. You know what I'm saying? I forgot who it was. I had a parlay, and the person scored Didn't score the first time, but scored the second time. And I was like,
Right.
I wasn't sure if that would count. Like, I wasn't sure if they would nix it out and the rest of my parlay would stand, and it didn't. So I was just like, come on, man. So you have to do it alone. You got to do that alone for you to get the second chance back. And so that annoyed me. That was one thing that annoyed me last week about the second chance touchdown. But it is what it is. Barrett, I'll start with you. Upcoming this week, who are some guys that you think are going to touch pay dirt?
One thing for sure, I know is AJ Brown's going to hit dirt. No question, he's going to hit pay dirt. And then I might go Jamar Chase for 2. You know what I mean? I think he might get 2 touchdowns. Another guy, Josh Jacob, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuels. I'm feeling your 49ers against against Detroit.
Are you trying to say that?
I'm gonna go. Huh?
Do you think that's gonna be up?
I started to say it, but I was like thinking to myself, man, these guys are gonna think I'm nuts for saying it. But I got a lot of confidence right now in them. You guys would think I'm totally crazy, but George Kittle and Deebo Samuels will have great games against them. I mean, that offensive line is gonna ball from. Purdy just gave his offensive line cars. I mean, trucks. Gave him trucks. So you're going to want to go out there and give a little bit extra for this kid because he just gave you guys trucks. And he didn't have a big contract yet and went out and bought them guys trucks. So, yeah, for Christmas. So, yeah, I'm totally tied in with the 49ers and what they're going to do out there in this game. I'm telling you.
What are we talking about here? They're so hurt, like it's almost like let's quit type of hurt. So
if you buy me a truck, you'll have the best shows ever. You know what I'm saying? Go out buy me the 3 of us trucks. You go buy the 3 of us trucks. You got it, baby.
Buy us trucks. Yeah, Kenny. And I agree. I concur. Buy us trucks.
I'll see what I could do.
Okay, all right. So you got 49ers heavy. We'll touch back on that. Kenny, what touchdowns are you looking at today for this weekend?
I've got 4 guys here. You can parlay them or you can take them all straight, whatever you want to do. We're going to start with Cortland Sutton. I talked about how I like the Broncos a lot, going up against the Bengals and that putrid secondary that they've got over there. I think Sutton finds the end zone in that matchup on Sunday. And then you go to Sunday, Mike Evans against the Panthers. Of course, Mike Evans has owned the Panthers in his career. It's also part of his incentives in his contract to get one more touchdown, which I would believe would be his 10th on the year to get another $1 million. So I'm going with Mike Evans. And then I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. No Jalen Hurts, so you don't got to worry about the tush push. I think he gets at least one against Dallas. And then my final pick, I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. To get in for the Colts against the Giants. He's been running a lot of touchdowns this year.
Okay.
I like that rationale. I like that rationale he's got, man. I like that rationale with the Anthony Richardson. That's some pretty good research right there you gave us, bro.
Yeah, and you team that up with the research of needing the Mike Evans and a contract incentive. Like and it's funny because I've heard a lot of stories in contract where they were like, nah, he didn't feed me the ball because they didn't want to pay him that extra $1 million. So, but again, Mike Evans has been in Tampa Bay for so long. He's been a Tampa Bay lifer. So you would think they would make sure he gets his incentive as opposed to ownership hating because he's probably going to retire a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. So I love Mike Evans being a touchdown pick. Jamar Chase is the one I'm not sure at because Patrick Surtain is in that game. And Patrick Surtain quietly is kept. He's number 2 when it comes to Defensive Player of the Year right now when it comes to odds. At plus 350. Now he's a good amount behind TJ Watt, who's minus 210. But if Pat has a game against Jamar Chase where maybe he gets an interception, maybe he holds Jamar Chase down to 40, 50 yards, and the Denver Broncos make the playoffs, Patrick Surtain may have a say-so or may have a chance at winning Defensive Player of the Year. Again, we talked about cornerbacks not getting awards because they don't have gaudy numbers because people ain't throwing their side. But the Jamar Chase one is interesting to me just because he's been someone I picked every week to have yardage, to have touchdowns. He disappointed me a little last week because I had him for 100 yards and he only had freaking 97. I texted the group chat and y'all didn't reply, but I was pissed the hell off. Like, I had great freaking odds for that. Matter of fact, let me read that odd. Let me pull up our text real quick and read that.
You know what?
Y'all flat out ignored me, but
we didn't. I gotta put it up. We didn't want to hurt the mood even more, so we just wanted to let it go.
The viewers and listeners need to hear this, right? So I put $5 down, but the odds were plus 3393. That's ridiculous odds. So here's where my odds. I had Jahmyr Gibbs anytime touchdown. I had Kyren Williams anytime touchdown and 100 yards rushing. I had Bijan Robinson anytime touchdown, 100 yards rushing, and Jamar Chase anytime touchdown and 100 yards receiving. I got every one of those except Jamar Chase 100 yards, and Jamar Chase had 97 freaking yards. I was sick. I thought all those things were guaranteed. I was absolutely sick to my stomach. At 97 yards, this is a 1 week all year that you didn't have 100. 97 freaking yards pissed me off. But because of that, I'm still going to shy away. Patrick Surtain is going to be on him the entire day. You know, that's going to be one of the great battles of the week. But again, one that I'm just not sure of. What y'all think about that?
That's why I love the Broncos. Part of the reason why I love the Broncos. I think Chase doesn't have a big day. They're not going to let Chase Brown run wild either. I wouldn't bet any Bengals because their numbers are going to be inflated as well. I'm sure Jamar Chase and Chase Brown are both minus money to score a touchdown. Against this Denver defense, I'm good on all that.
Okay. Barrett, what were you going to say?
I don't care who you put out there with Jamar Chase. He's leaving the league right now. I mean, for him not to have 100, you know, you're right. I did expect that. But, you know, I just think that offense is almost unstoppable when you're asking, you know, somebody to go out there one-on-one and stop, you know, and stop that. I mean, we're talking about a quarterback, and Joe Burrow is playing at an elite level. You know, in fact, like I said, it's not a problem. He's the best playing right now, no question. The best quarterback playing, better than Josh, better than Jackson, better than Hurts, better than Mahomes. He is the best quarterback in the NFL at this point. He's on a sorry team, man. You know, I mean, that's the problem with things. But I just think he's that good and that dynamic of a quarterback that he will get Jamar Chase the ball. I just think he will.
All right, now here's some of the ones that I think I want y'all to judge. Now, I'm Kenny, you got me 100% on Mike Evans. I'm always a Mike Evans guy, but I wasn't going to pick him. But with that touchdown incentive, he's got to get one. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with Mike Evans on that one. I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson again. The Commanders, as much as they're not good on defense, right? They're going to let up points. It is what it is. They're going to let up yards. So I picked Bijan last week for 100 yards in the TD. I'm going to pick him for 100 yards in the TD again. And I think he's going to be able to get in. I think that Commanders-Falcons game, despite it being Michael Penix Jr., is going to have a bunch of offense. So I can see him scoring in that game. The next couple guys that I want to sort of go with is James Cook against the Jets. Again, I know Barrett thinks the Jets are going to get the upset, but I think the Bills are going to win this one comfortably, and he's going to get in. And I think Kyren Williams, once again, the Arizona Cardinals, they're done, right? It's like, all right, rip it up. We're not making the playoffs. And so I'm looking at teams this week that are done, that may be saying 1, 2, 3 Cancun. And so I think Kyren Williams is going to go back and have a big game, is going to get in the end zone. And he's been doing that all season long, obviously. But I think he's going to do that, particularly in this game. And I would venture out to say he gets 2 in this game. Because, again, I think the Cardinals have been shell-shocked, and now they're like, all right, well, we're done. So, you know what I mean? How hard are you really going to play when you're going to to LA. All right, man, we going to LA. Let's party a little bit. Let's do what we need to do. It's basically New Year's Eve. Yo, what's going on tonight, man? What spot you gonna be at? Who's gonna be there? What celebrities gonna be there? Like, that's what I think is gonna be on the Arizona Cardinal players' mind. Like, who? Oh, okay. What's the girl from that video? Oh, all right. Oh, Tyler gonna be there. Oh, Tim's gonna be there. Like, all right, with actress. That's the type of time Arizona Cardinals going to be on after being eliminated and it being New Year's Eve. That's the other sneaky thing we got to think about that. Let me ask you, Barrett. Like, and I know NBA players have done it all the time, and I've talked to them about it. But when you're playing a game where you're like, maybe you're out of contention, and it's Christmas, and it's New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, maybe there's some partying, maybe you in Miami, maybe you in LA. How does that affect the players' ability to perform? Like, is half the team like just like, I'm worried about the parties because we're done? Or what is that like in the locker room?
It can go both ways. If you already locked it in, that means that you going out, you know, you're thinking about partying. You know, you are like if you're Kansas City, you already know you locked up the number one seed. Come the first, you know, if they did have a game, they already played, but if they did have a game, they'd be kicking it. You know, I mean, it need no question. Be no question. They'd be kicking it. And, you know, if you're already out of the playoffs, guys say, we're going to kick it anyways. So, I mean, it's a lot different depending on what your status is on the team also. You know, I know guys, you know, that they would go out and they didn't care. Like, I played with Ricky Waters and Charlie Garner. Ricky Waters and Charlie Garner, we played, and it was you know, party night, or we went out and played in Miami, or I remember we went to play in Arizona. They went out the night before the game. Went to the 49ers in the playoff game. They went out the night, you know, after we got through with our meeting, they went out that night. You know what I'm saying? The night before a game. We ended up getting our ass kicked too on the 49ers that game too in the playoffs. So, I mean, it really depends on what your status is on the team, but it has a lot to do with the maturity of the guys on the team, you know, and those two right there, you know, they were mature in the aspect. It didn't matter what they did. They wouldn't come out and ball anyways. You know what I mean? I mean, they come in and be totally drunk and still go out there and have 100 yards each. You know what I mean? So it really depends on the team. But I can't see guys going out and kicking, especially when the season's over with, like Cleveland. Cleveland City's over with. Come on, man. They're done. Cleveland is done. You know what I mean? But it's just so happens Miami's going up to Cleveland, and you know, there's nothing to do in Cleveland. Nothing to do. You know, you can go to the flats. That's about it. But if they were playing in Miami, best believe they would be going out. They'd probably be going out and kicking it with the players from Miami. So I mean, it is what it is.
Kenny, that's what I would be doing, Kenny. I'm not gonna lie to you. Again, I ain't a player, but if my team is eliminated and my spot is solidified on the team, like I don't have to play for a spot, dog. I'm in LA, dog. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it says it has to say a lot, especially with some of the leaders on the team. You look at that Cardinals-Rams game. The Cardinals now eliminated. What is Kyler Murray playing for? I'm sure that Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison are playing for, or at least playing, trying to connect with Kyler Murray because they know that that's the future there in Arizona. So I think it's very team subjective, player subjective, as far as who's going to go out there and who's going to give it their all. We'll see this week, though, because in the next few weeks, who the teams that are eliminated, who really wants to play and who doesn't.
Yeah, again, and that's what it's 53-man roster, and it's going to be split. Because if I'm Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm your future wide receiver. We already know that. What am I doing here? Yeah, I ain't got to be focused in for this one game. I'm in LA. I'm not. Again, my daddy had money, so I'm used to this lifestyle, but I'm not really used to this lifestyle as an adult. I'm out of here. Let's get it popping. Let me go get me an R&B diva. That's how I would be. But again, that's how I was back then. All right. When we come back, we're gonna again get to the next level. We got all the biggest concerns, right? Like each big playoff team probably has a big concern. Eagles, Lions, Vikings, Bills. What are you worried about that team? So we're gonna break each team down and go from there. All right. This is the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL Network. Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks, Kenny Henderson here. Devin Caney had to deal with some things, so she'll be back next week, and we need her back because, again, our touchdown queen gives us all the loot, all the money, and I need to start following her lead. I'll be honest with y'all. My hate for her, like my despise, like our beef doesn't allow me to. But I need to get that out of my head and just go ahead and take her advice. But of course, Devin will be back next week. So right now, let's go
Of
into.
course, I'm texting her. I'm gonna text her and get the bets though.
She better. Yeah, you're right. She better have it on deck. This week, instead of doing alternatives, we're gonna do playoff team concerns because there's no flawless team in the NFL this year. There's no team, in my opinion, that's like the 95 Cowboys, the 2000 Ravens. No team where you go, oh, they got 7 Pro Bowlers on each side of the ball. Like they have Hall of Famers all over the place. Like no team where you go, that's an all-time great team. Now you got really good teams. And we're going to discuss those really, really good teams. But I don't think you have a team that's going to go down as an all-time great this year. So that means if you're not that means there's going to be some issues that you have to worry about, even if it's health. So with that, we start with the Eagles, a team that was looking like the best team in the NFL, and now they got to deal with some issues, right? Jalen Hurts, concussion protocol. He ain't going to play on Sunday, but that wasn't announced yet. And so where's he going to be at? Where is his head going to be at? When he comes back, is he still a little woozy? Is he going to be more is he going to have to deal with another situation? Because once you get one concussion, it's easy to follow up with another one. How's that going to be? Because the Eagles have been lucky because they haven't dealt with injuries like other teams have dealt with injuries. They've had Devontae out and AJ out. They've had some guys out, but they haven't had any of their main players have season-ending injuries like the Detroit Lions have had season-ending injuries. You already know my 49ers, what they've dealt with. So they haven't had to deal with that. Even the Kansas City Chiefs with Rashid Rice, their number one target, being out for the entire season. Barrett, you're concerned with Jalen Hurts being out. Again, we don't know what extent. You may know a little bit more than we do, obviously, but you're concerned with Jalen Hurts' health and what he's going to be when he gets back.
Well, first of all, he's definitely not this week. Usually when you're going through concussion protocol, if there's a chance for you to play, you're usually out there on Wednesday to look at practice and Tuesday. Well, he hasn't been looking at any practices, at least not on the field. So, that's like telling you he's not going to play. And in addition, they went out and got Ian Book and signed him to the practice squad. So that's letting you know he's going to be the third receiver that gets to dress on game day, as a utility guy. So it's Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett's going to be starting. So they're going to customize an offense around Kenny Pickett as opposed to what they did before. They played him in Jalen's offense, and he's not a good enough. He's an athlete, but he's not a good enough athlete to run it like that. So they knew he wasn't going to keep him on the read option. So they probably won't run read options with it. But I'll tell you this. If there was any chance or opportunity for Jalen to play, he would have had to been outside and watching practice on Wednesday and Thursday. And I doubt seriously, he'll be there today either. So there's no way, he passed the protocol and it has nothing to do with the Eagles either. It's about the physicians and doctors. Eagles can't do anything to alter, him playing or not, so he won't play this weekend for sure.
Okay, Kenny, what are your sort of thoughts on the Eagles and what their issues could be going into the playoffs?
We might not see Jalen Hurts until Wild Card Weekend, and you that's got to be a concern if you're the Eagles. If you're all of a sudden you're going up against the Commanders, a team that beat you 3 weeks prior in Wild Card Weekend, that looks like it's going to be who they play, and that's the next time we see Jalen Hurts, and he could play tentative because it's the team he got concussed against. I don't know if that plays a part into it, but it has to be worrisome just by because if they win or lose this week, they can be locked into the 2 next week. Do you even play Jalen Hurts against the Giants in the final week? That's got to be a question because I think that you want to have him healthy, but at the same time, you don't want to just throw him into a wild card game a little rusty after missing a few weeks coming off a concussion. So I'm concerned about this Eagles team potentially losing in the first round solely because of this, because their quarterback got hurt late in the season, and now he's going to have to be thrown in there on Wild Card Weekend potentially against a team that beat them in the Washington Commanders. I know that they would be at home this time around, but I'm really concerned about the Eagles and what we'll see here. Because Kenny Pickett's not going to start the playoff game. Hurts
Yeah.
will be back. Like, that's the goal. They're getting him back for the playoffs, but like at the same time, are they really going to go on a Super Bowl run just throwing Jalen Hurts back into the lineup? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love having any player miss a month of football, right? Because essentially that's what it's going to be if he doesn't play this week and the next week. Like, all right, you've been out for 3-4 weeks, really, right? Damn near 4 weeks of football. So I don't like that idea. But again, for the Eagles, because they lean on their run game so much, because it's Saquon Barkley so much, that's the thing that makes you go, okay, they're going to be okay, right? Like, even if Jalen Hurts is rusty, if they lean on that run game and that defense it's weird. I want to say they had a bad performance against Washington, but at the same time, they created 5 turnovers. That's just a weird situation, weird game. Like, they played great and bad at the same time. It's weird, but you know what I mean? But I think they're going to be okay, even if he missed that amount of time. But still, the rustiness worries me a little bit for this team. Let me ask y'all a quick question before we move on to another team. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, if the Eagles win this game this weekend, and we'll have more to discuss after this weekend, and Saquon has the game that Barrett thinks he's going to have. Let's say he has 80 yards. And the final game of the season against the Giants doesn't matter. This has been a question people have been asking in Philadelphia, Kenny. If Saquon needs 70 yards against the Giants to break the rushing record in a game that doesn't matter, do you play Saquon Barkley? Especially knowing that Jalen Hurts is out. What would you do? I'll start with you, B. Brooks.
I don't think there's even a question that they're going to go ahead and if he only needs 70 yards, he needs 65, 60 yards. I think the offensive line and the team itself will override the coaching staff. Be like, no, we're going to play. I think Jalen Hurts will step to the plate and be like, hey, we're going to play at least in the first half until he gets to 70 yards to break the record. We're going to play at least the first half. If they can stop us, then let them stop us. But we're going to play the first half, and he will get to 70 yards guaranteed against that Giants D. That Giants D is putrid. So I think they'll beat up on them real fast. I mean, they got a horse in there, Lawrence. He's one horse, but we'll just double team and triple team him and just run and get this 70 yards. I mean, we had 155, I think, against them the first game we played against them coming back. No, 160, 170. I think it's 170 something. It was almost his record. You know what I'm saying, for total carries for him. But they'll play him for. If it's just that many, I think that they would play him just for the record and just to break the record. And there's nothing the Giants could do to stop it. Nothing.
Okay.
The team itself would do it.
All right, Kenny. Before we go to the next game, would you play him?
I think Nick Sirianni will ask him if he wants to, and Saquon will 1,000% say yes, given the fact he's got a chance to break the record against his former team. Nick's going to leave it up to Saquon, and Saquon's going to say yes. That's how I feel like it's going to go down. He asked him, I think he had a chance to break his single game rushing yard when last time they played the Giants, and he asked him if he wanted to go out there, and he said no to that. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think this time he'll say yes.
All right. If he gets hurt, there's going to be a lot of people we call it for Nick Sirianni's head. Let's go to the next.
Speak no evil. Hear no evil. Speak no evil. Hear no evil.
I got you. Let's move on to the
Detroit
Detroit
Lions.
Lions.
Playing football.
Yeah, I get it, but that wouldn't be the smartest move. The Detroit Lions, Lincoln Oil. I mean, again, they were juggernauts at one point. Aiden Hutchinson. Again, now you got not just Aiden, D tackles, linebackers, David Montgomery out. So it was Sonic and Knuckles, and now it's only Sonic, right? The Detroit Lions playing great football, but leaking oil. Kenny, I'll start with you this time. Do you think they can overcome that in the playoffs?
I think they can, but it's very matchup dependent. I think that depending on who they play, that they'll be able to overcome it. But I mean, some of these matchups that they could potentially have against Green Bay's seen them twice already this year, and healthy versions of that team. It's hard to beat a team 3 times a year. Because of the injuries, Philly has a more talented roster. I would say fully healthy, they're pretty on par, but the Lions are more beat up, so Philly's got a better roster. Therefore, the talent could overtake them. But other than that, I think that the Lions still are a very, very, very good team despite these injuries. Of course, you'd like to have a lot of these guys, but I mean, they're 13-2. It's similar with Kansas City, where like people are going to doubt the way that they're winning, or they don't have this much explosiveness. They are dealing with injuries themselves too, but the name of the game is winning, and that's what the Lions do. They've got a great culture. They've shown some of the next man up mentality there. I believe in this team to still go to the Super Bowl potentially, but it's very matchup dependent as well. We'll see when we get there what I decide to do, because if they play the Eagles or the Packers in the playoffs at this point, maybe even Minnesota, I would at least think about the other side.
Barrett, what do you think?
I think Detroit is at a point where they're just a well-oiled machine, even with the massive injuries they've had. I will say this: defensively, I think they've done just about as good a job as they could do with the talent that they have there. They have pulled out all the bells and whistles all season with the injuries they've had, and they've been able to come together. I think they just don't have enough right now to continue playing the way they're playing. If they go out there and play against in the playoffs a Green Bay, I think Green Bay can get them. I really do. I think that they're at a point right now. We're going against this 49er team this weekend. I think the 49ers, who's leaking oil also, just play a physical brand of football. And will they be able to get through that game unscathed? I don't know. What they do have is a great offensive line. Those guys playing together, those guys being in sync the way they are amazing. So it really puts them in a great position because they can run the ball effectively. Gibbs can go out there and really take a game over. And then, they protect Goff, good enough that he can go out there and hose it and get it to, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and those guys, so they're a good enough team right now that they could hold off average teams. But once they get into the playoffs, they're playing against likes of Green Bay. They're going to have some problems. They're really going to have some problems. Playing against the Eagles, they're going to really have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to outscore everybody. But at some point, that defense being as broken as it is, they're not going to be able to outscore everybody. So if the Eagles have Jalen Hurts and they're clicking, that's going to be tough. If the Green Bay Packers are clicking, that's going to be tough for them to outscore, especially now that you got David Montgomery and some of your offensive weapons no longer being there. Let's go to the Vikings right now. Vikings, I don't even know if there's a concern with the Vikings. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the concern is they just have Sam Darnold, and when people don't believe in Sam Darnold. But when you look at
right.
where the holes are on this team, you look around, you go, really good defense, really good offense, playmakers. Sam Darnold's playing well, they're coached well. Like there's no concern about this team, but yet everybody has the doubt. For me, it's the Vikings have always been fraudulent, right? Like you go back to Case Keenum, you go back to Kirk Cousins, even when they've had these playoff stretches, I've been like, you ain't real because I don't believe in your quarterback. And I do believe in Sam Darnold being a good quarterback, but winning playoff games and Super Bowls, I can't see it. Barrett, is this just a team where you go, you have everything, I just don't believe in you?
Right. I think it's more so Sam Darnold, you know what I mean? And it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth because he played with the Jets. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's because he played with the Jets, but look at the horse he can throw to, man. I mean, he has some weapons, man. Addison. With the Justin Jefferson, probably the number 2 receiver in the league, man. He is great. I mean, him and Jamar Chase, 1A, 1B, and I don't know which one you put up there first. So those type of weapons and T.J. Hawkinson playing the way he plays, that's just a well-balanced offense, especially with Aaron Jones being there and Cam Akers. I like him, man. I like him. I just don't like Sam. And, when you have an offensive coordinator, with Phillips and O'Connell, having that chemistry together, and then a shutdown defensive guy like Brian Flores, they have what it takes to be in the playoffs and go deep in the playoffs. Can they beat the likes of the Eagles? I don't know. But, I do like Minnesota. Once you play great defense and you have an offense that can keep up. I mean, there's not too much, there's not too many teams that have, as much to lose, as they do. They have a lot to lose because they are a really good team. We just don't like the non-flashy quarterback in Sam Darnold.
Kenny, is it the same for you?
I think you look at the landscape of the NFC right now. You've got Jared Goff, been to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, been to a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield's won a few playoff games. Jordan Love won a playoff game on the road. Sam Darnold's never played in a playoff game. And I think that all those quarterbacks in the NFC with that experience, when you have Darnold with none, I think that's going to matter. Now, does that mean the Vikings aren't going to win a playoff game? No, but do I have confidence that a guy who's never played in a playoff game is going to lead his team to the Super Bowl in his first year doing so? Not so confident in Minnesota for that reason.
Yeah, I'm with y'all.
Yeah, that's
All
huge.
year, Minnesota's been like, right now, and some of this ain't Sam Darnold's fault. You got drafted by the Jets, and the Jets do everything poorly when it comes to quarterback. So
Right.
I'm glad he went somewhere else, went to San Francisco, and now in Minnesota, and got to revitalize his career and show that he can play the quarterback position. But you're right. You got a lot of other quarterbacks that have experience in winning games in the playoffs. He doesn't have that yet. All right. When we come back, we'll talk about a couple of AFC teams that have some concerns and talk about how big those concerns are. And we'll go into the individual games, the biggest games of the week and the implications that they have. Sunday Spread. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. Once again, Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks, Kenny Henderson. We were talking about the NFC teams that we have some concerns with. All right, the really good teams in the NFC that have a chance to go into the Super Bowl. What were their concerns? We discussed that. Now let's flip over to the AFC. Teams we may have some concerns with. The Bills, we're going to push the Kansas City Chiefs to the side. They won back-to-back Super Bowls. It's just winning is just what they do, all right? There's no real concerns with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're just hoping somebody knocks them off. Let's go to the other teams that can possibly knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills. I mean, Josh Allen is likely going to win the MVP. They played great football, but defensively they haven't been great, right? Defensively, they're usually outscoring teams because Josh Allen can put up a lot of points, and Josh Allen doesn't have a lot of help. Right, Amari Cooper is there and James Cook is there. They have some pretty good weapons. But in comparison to the other teams that we talked about, they don't have as close as the weapons as those teams had. Barrett, I'll start with you. What are your concerns with the Buffalo Bills?
You're right, man. You hit it right on the head. Concerned with their bench. They've got their guy Matt Milano, inside linebacker. I like him. He's a really good player. DeMar Hamlin didn't play last week. Really good safety, even though, he went through what he went through, he has come back and he is a really, really good safety. Rapp, the other safety, he's touch and go as far as his health, going into this game. It's just one of those things where, will you be healthy enough to keep up what you've been doing? Because I think they've been a very average defense, to say the least. In the middle, Ed Oliver, he's a beast, man. He's a guy that can get up the field, create a little havoc. But after that, I don't see much, So defensively, they have to keep up with that offense, and that offense has been playing well enough that you really don't have to worry about. It because they scored enough. They're that dynamic, and Josh Allen's just so good of a player that he can, distribute the ball to anybody and everybody. So, that's it. Defensively, can they keep it up? Can they just, give them a little bit of a spark? I think they can, but they are good. But the defense is definitely their Achilles heel.
What do you think, Kenny? Is it the same?
I think that this team is going to go as far as Josh Allen carries them. They remind me a lot of the 2015 Carolina Panthers, if you guys remember Cam Newton's MVP year, where you have a superstar quarterback, like superhuman quarterback, and then everything else is kind of just average. That Carolina team, their weapons were like Kotry and Ted Ginn Jr., Greg Olsen at the tight end, like no studs, but like solid players. That's what Buffalo has. Then you look at coaching.
D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah. James Cook is a solid back. They use some of the other guys, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. But it's all on Josh Allen. It's on Allen, just like it was on Cam Newton's shoulders, and he was able to take them there, eventually losing to the Broncos. And we might see something similar here, whether the Bills, Allen's able to take him to the title game, take him to the Super Bowl. But I think they're just going to fall just short because they don't have some of the other pieces to help Allen. Although I do think that, like I said, they're going to go as far as Allen can take him. If he puts on the cape, he's Superman. I think that, that would be their chance there. Other than that, I think someone else is going to get them just due to the team being pretty average overall, to be honest, outside of their superhero quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. People don't make enough. Like Josh Allen is basically Cam Newton's kid, right? Like
Yep.
it's the same style of play, the same. I think Cam Newton at his best did it at a higher level, but again, Cam Newton didn't have a lot of fully healthy years, unfortunately, because he had a lot of years where his shoulder was bummed. But that's a great comparison. Although the Carolina Panthers that year had a really good defense, which the Buffalo Bills do not have. So that Carolina Panther team was better because they had Luke Kuechly, they had Thomas Davis, and Josh Norman was an All-Pro that year. So they had some really good things in Carolina, and he doesn't even have that. So I'm with y'all with the concerns. I just feel like you can have another game against the Kansas City Chiefs like you had years ago where Josh Allen balls the hell out. But then Patrick Mahomes makes his last second plays and gets a touchdown because his defense isn't very good. And now we're always saying, hey, Josh Allen can't win the big game. Josh Allen can't beat Kansas City. You like, that ain't Josh Allen's fault. Josh Allen put up 30. What you want from him? He just didn't have everything else, right? Like sometimes it's not the individual player. We always want to go Lamar versus Pat or all of that other stuff. Pat got a defense. Right? A defense that these other teams ain't got. So it's to me,
right.
The Bills are going to be ousted in the playoffs with Josh Allen playing great, but them still losing because he doesn't have the defense to sort of help things out. So let's go to the next team before we get to individual games. The Baltimore Ravens is similar to the Bills, right? It's Lamar Jackson. Can he win the big game? Can he finally win playoff game last year? Can he win playoff games this year when he, especially not being the number one seed, to take him to the playoffs? We've seen Lamar Jackson win a lot of big games in the regular season. We've seen him beat the best of the best in the regular season. But can he consistently do it in the playoffs? Kenny, I'll start with you. The Baltimore Ravens, again, Lamar has some of the same stink that Josh Allen has. Do you think Lamar can overcome that?
I think he can. And yeah, you were right. It's very similar to what's going on in Buffalo. These teams just trying to get over that Kansas City hump. And I think my biggest concern with Baltimore is they kind of put themselves in a little hole as far as seeding goes. They're likely going to be the 3 seed at best, meaning that the road to the Super Bowl might be after the wild card round at Buffalo, at Orchard Park, and then at Arrowhead Stadium if they were even to beat the Bills. 2 road games. I know Mahomes did it last year, beating Buffalo in Buffalo, beating Baltimore in Baltimore, but that's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know if Lamar is going to be able to go on the road and win 2 playoff games against 2 other elite quarterbacks. Other than that, I mean, this guy looks like the best player in the league right now. He's a man on the mission. I don't know if you guys remember, but after the loss to the Eagles in front of the media, he spoke. He said that after this bye, we're going to get going. I saw in there the in-season Hard Knocks, John Harbaugh said we're going to hit this bye and we're just going to go all the way to the end of the season. So this team does have what it takes, and they do have the experience there. Now they have King Henry to hand the ball off to, but at the same time, it's all about being able to go on the road and win these games. We know how difficult that is in the playoffs, and because they dug themselves a little hole, that would be my biggest concern was that, you know, as the 3 seed, are they able to go into Buffalo and win? Are they going to be able to go into Kansas City then and win in back-to-back weeks?
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
You're absolutely right, man. I mean, you look at it, man, it's going to be tough for them to go in and just the mere fact you said 2 other dynamic quarterbacks, you know, 2, Mahomes and Allen. I mean, that's just tough. You know, the AFC, you know, you just drew the wrong straw by getting drafted to another AFC team at this point. I don't know if he can get past those 2 guys. You know, looking at their team, man, they're built well, you know, as far as running the rock. You know, you got Ken Henry back there. But then you got Flowers, man. Zay Flowers is playing. You can't guard him. I mean, he's running free everywhere in on defenses. I mean, he's almost unstoppable because you got a guy like Lamar that can go out there and you know, improvise and take a little more time. And by that time, you know, you can't plaster drill him because, you know, Flowers is running back there, you know, with nobody around him, and he's got a strong enough arm to hit him from every angle from anywhere. So, yeah, man, you're right, man. You think about that, but then you got to turn around. You're playing against Patrick Mahomes and you're playing against Josh Allen, 2 virtual magicians at the quarterback position. And here you are, you know, you're the 3rd magician, but you got to go through them to get to the Super Bowl. That's just, to me, it's just too hard of a road to try to climb. You know, he's been good during the regular season, postseason, even getting to the postseason. This first time in 3 or 4 years. This will be his second time in 3 or 4 years that he's made it to the postseason. He's usually hurt. You know, 2 previous years he was hurt, you know, both years going into the preseason. So or they didn't even make it to the preseason. I just think, it's just a tough road in the AFC to really negotiate and navigate, in that conference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with y'all. Lamar Jackson, someone I look at is he's eventually going to get one in the Super Bowl. Like, to me, he's too good. He's going to get one. Like, he's going to snag one. He's not, because he has to deal with Pat, because he has to deal with all those individuals, Josh Allen, it's not going to be 4 or 5, but he's going to eventually get one. And to me, people got to remember, and I'm not comparing him to this guy, but Peyton Manning stunk in the playoffs his first 4 or 5 years. Stunk. I mean, he couldn't at 27, he didn't have any playoff victories, right? So you can deal with that and then go on to win multiple Super Bowls like Peyton Manning did. And I think Lamar Jackson is too talented of a player. I think he's going to eventually get one. I'm not sure if this is going to be the year, just because of having to go on the road and win big playoff games potentially, and not having the elite defense that he's had in years past. I don't think this will be the year, but I do think Lamar is going to eventually get one. Now, let's skip on over to the games that are going down today, the big time games, the games that mean something. We're going to start with Packers Vikings. I mean, that is a pick'em game right now. Packers, one of the hottest teams out there. Vikings still have a chance at the number 1 seed, still have a chance at the division. It sucks because they can go from the 1 seed to the 5th seed, which is dramatic. Home games the whole playoffs, road games the whole playoffs. Dramatic. Again, they need Detroit to lose, but still, and the Vikings to win in the final game, but they're still in there. Barrett, we'll start with you. Vikings, Packers, what do you say about that game?
I think the Packers right now, Jordan Love is really, really, really got some great talent, you know what I mean? And the guys, Romeo Doubs, Watson, and Jalen Reed, man, is becoming a dominant figure. And I like him, man. I mean, Reed is a he's like a time bomb. You put him out there, and all of a sudden, bam, he explodes, and here he goes for $120, $130 in one game. So Jordan Love has everything he needs, and then you equip that with the running game with Josh Jacobs. Man, they are an explosive offense. Defense is where they're lacking a little bit. I think they'll get Alexander back, and I think Walker will be back this next game. But talking about explosive, I like them to beat this team. I really do like them, man. That's one of my picks. You know what I'm saying? My picks that I'm going with this game. I'm going with that pick that they beat them. You know what I'm saying? Over the points.
I'm not mad at you. I mean, again, we talked about not believing in the Vikings, and the Packers are just a really good football team. Matt LaFleur,
yeah,
his record and the things he's been able to do, whether it's with Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love, he's been a great coach for that football team and kept them as a consistently winning franchise. So I love the Packers. I even love the Packers because even if you want to pick them Super Bowl wise, now I know there's a lot of teams above them, Eagles, Lions, etc. But when you talk about value, 14-1 value to win the Super Bowl, 6-1 value to go to the to win the NFC, they're the best value team to win the Super Bowl when it comes to all these teams that are below. Obviously, the Chiefs, who are favorite, Lions, Bills, Eagles. You go down for a while and you get the Packers. That's a great value pick. Again, not the pick I would pick to win the Super Bowl, but value-wise at 14-1, you can make some money off of that. Kenny, what are you looking at in that game?
I love the Packers here, and I was going to say that Minnesota's on a nice little cute 8-game winning streak, but the teams they played, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee, the Bears twice, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks. Are any of those teams relatively as good as the Packers?
No, not even close.
And that's part of the reason why I like Green Bay. Also, you look at earlier in the season, they played in week 4. Jordan Love was not 100% for that game. Minnesota went up 28-0 in the first half. The final score was 31-29. When Love got some rhythm, he got used to the Flores blitz. He really settled in that game. They made a comeback. I know it was a lot of prevent defense, but he made a comeback. And I think that was really telling of who these two teams are. Two really good teams. I just think the Packers are a little bit better. And despite being on the road, I think they get their revenge from losing earlier in the season. I really love the Packers in this spot.
Oh,
my dog.
It's interesting. You bring up the schedule. I'm looking at the schedule, and it's like, wow. Like you're right. Like they beaten two teams that are currently in the playoffs right now, right? Like they beat the
Atlanta's hanging by
Texans.
a thread too.
Yeah, they beat the Texans. They beat the Packers earlier in the season, and that's when the Packers weren't nearly as good. But everybody else, like you said, if they played down the stretch, are teams that aren't currently in their playoff spot and likely won't be a playoff team, like the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Bears, the Titans. I mean, you're 100% right. Like they've had a soft schedule on their way to this 13-2 team. So interesting. Let's go to another game real quick. Falcons and Commanders. We talked about the Falcons. Like I said before, they still have an outside chance to make the playoffs. They put in Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. played well. That's what I was right about it last week because y'all said he would possibly throw for over 250. I thought that was insane. He didn't come close to 250. So I was right about that. But I was wrong in the fact that the offense and the team still looked really good behind Michael Penix Jr. and did what they needed to do to go get a win. But again, they're facing the Commanders, who still has an outside chance of winning the division. I don't think it's going to happen, but they're still playing as if they could win the division. Kenny, I'll start with you real quick. We're going to be short on this. We'll finish it after the break. What's your thought process on the Falcons and the Commanders?
I'll be really quick here. Jaden Daniels is a killer. This team is special. And Michael Penix, this is his first big start. His second start, but his first big start under the bright lights on the road. This is easy for me. Washington.
You, Barrett?
Easy money. I mean, that kid, Jaden Daniels, I watched him play. He is phenomenal in going out there and making plays, man. And you know, he's unwavered when he's out there. You know, he's got the cool calmness of a great quarterback. So I like the Commanders also.
Yeah, I'm with y'all too. Commanders should win this game. The Falcons are in flux. They haven't played great football. The Commanders, who were playing terrible football at one point in time in the middle of the season, are now playing really good football over their last 4 or 5 games. They won their last 3 with that win over the Eagles. So they're looking good. I'm with y'all. The Commanders will get a dub in this game. All right, when we come back, start one, bench one, cut one. We haven't done so well. I'll be honest with you. We haven't done so well, but we're going to right this time where we're going to pick a bunch of players to go over 100 or we're going to start them, bench them, or cut them and see who comes out victorious. All right, that's a game we're going to play along with all of our best bets this week. Sunday Spread. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread final segments. We're going to do start one, bench one, cut one. We're going to do our best bets. But first, let's talk about the Lions. Barrett, you didn't allude to it. You flat out said that you were putting them on upset alert. You didn't want to throw it out there, but based on your bets, you were putting them on upset alert. I think once the Eagles lost last week, Washington, most people said, number 1 seed, Detroit, book it, it's over with. Do you think it's book it, it's over it, or do you think there's a chance that Detroit loses that 1 seed?
I think there is a chance, because I'm looking at this 49er team. They're the walking wounded right now. They're a wounded animal. They're a bit scared, and they're a prideful team, man. A very team. And and looking at this, when you don't have, David Montgomery, it really, really, really puts a damper on your offense. Because yes, Jamar Gibbs is a really good explosive running back, but it takes away from that dual threat that you had before. So I think with that and going into this game, they've looked to other guys to fill it, and receivers have done it. Patrick, big receiver, he stepped up, but can he step up against the likes of that defense he's going to be playing against the 49ers? I don't know. So I'm picking 49ers.
Wow.
I'm picking 49ers to win the game. Upset.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Barrett. I feel like every time you've picked my team, it's going negative for my team. I don't know,
what
man.
You think? Reverse psychology?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you're doing this on purpose. Kenny, do you think the 1 seed is sewed up, or do you think there's a chance they lose it? Because, again, they play the Vikings in the last game of the season. So that's going to be a good game, and the Vikings will certainly have a chance. So Detroit really needs to lock it down this week.
Yeah, I think they do. I think Green Bay beats Minnesota on Thursday, and regardless of what Philly does, if the Lions beat the Niners on Monday Night Football, the Lions will have the number 1 seed locked up before they play Minnesota. So I think that's what happens. I think the results happen on Sunday. Green Bay wins, and they go into that Monday night game. The 49ers team's dead. I mean, I was actually on the 49ers to beat Miami last week. It did not go very well. So I'm not going to tail them by any means this week. I love the Lions. I think they still have a little salt in their mouth from what happened in the NFC title game last year. They're back in Santa Clara. And I think they're gonna get the job done and lock up that number 1 seed on Monday night.
Barrett, see, I feel like the 49ers may be the team that's talking about Cancun, right? Because when you're used and they are a prideful team. They're a prideful team, I get it. But when you're used to playing in the playoffs every year and for Super Bowls, it's hard to get up for these regular season games. Like, it's just I'm used to playing when it means something, right? Like, I'm not used to this little simple, stupid stuff, right? Like, this is below me. And I know the 49ers feel like this is a game, even though it's the Detroit Lions, even though it's the number 1 seed, that it's a game that's below them because it means nothing. They're not used to playing in December when it means technically nothing. So I feel like for some players, it's going to be hard to get up for. Like, they haven't been in this position for most of Kyle Shanahan's tenure. Maybe 1 year they were in the position, and that was after the Super Bowl last time, where they didn't have a chance in December. So to me, it's like, as a player, are you just like, it's hard for me to get up for this?
Well, let me tell you why. As an offensive lineman, your quarterback gives you a truck for Christmas. You're going to go all out for your quarterback. He may sit back there and make him a sandwich. That's how long he's going to have to pass the ball to both Kittle and Deebo Samuels, 2 of my anytime touchdown picks this week. This is a prideful team, I'm telling you, man, and there is a chance that Dre Greenlaw might play. Bruh, I'm telling you. Watch what I said. I'm bullish on this.
See, I almost went Dre Greenlaw. Just sit out. Just chill out, dog. Yeah. You're back from your Achilles. We know you're good. And just chill out for next season. As a 49er fan, that's how I look at Dre. Like, hey, Dre, don't kill yourself, please. We need you for next season, the return season. That's what we actually need you for. All right, let's play a game. Start one, bench one, cut one. Again, we've had some good ones. We've had some W's on start one, bench one, cut ones, but we didn't have a W last week, excuse me. So let's see what we can get this week. Start one, bench one, cut one. Let's start with the running backs. Let's start with the running backs who can go for big gains. And again, when I play start one, bench one, cut one, we're talking about 100 yards plus. And I had to be specific because Devin made sure I was specific last week. I'm not talking about total yards. I'm talking about just rushing yards when I'm talking about the running backs. Kyren Williams against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, 1-2-3 Cancun. Again, so in the Rams, they need to win out to make sure they lock in the division because it's still a chance that the Seahawks can win the division. So I think Kyren Williams has a big game. He has over 1,200 yards this year, 13 touchdowns. I think he gets over 100. So he's going to be part of the start one, bench one, cut one. The next guy, Saquon Barkley. Now, you would think that 100 yards would be a guarantee, but again, when Kenny Pickett was in the game against Washington, all that running game stuff slowed down. So can Saquon and the Eagles still have a big-time running game despite having Kenny Pickett in the game and that running option being gone? So Saquon Barkley is going to be in the start one, bench one, cut one. And the next guy I'm going to have is Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson of the Commanders. Again, Bijan balled out last week, has over almost 1,200 yards on the season, 10 touchdowns, playing a Commander team that defensively isn't good. They win in shootout fashion. So those are the 3 guys I'm picking. Again, we know who the studs are, but I think Bijan is low-key a stud too. He's low-key going to put himself in the conversation of the great running backs, the top 5 running backs. And he's low-key already done that this season. We just haven't paid attention as much because he plays in Atlanta. So start one, bench one, cut one. I'll start with you, Barrett. Are you starting, benching, cutting Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Kyren Williams?
Man, this is so tough, man, because you're talking about teams that still have an opportunity. So I know for one thing, I'm going to start Barkley because we haven't locked up the division yet. So I'm gonna go with starting Barkley. But I think I'm gonna cut Robinson. Doesn't really have a lot to play for. So I'm gonna cut him and I'm gonna bench Williams. And this is tough, man. This is very tough because we're talking about talently. Robinson might be the most talented between Williams and Robinson. Robinson's more talented, but Williams has more to play for, as far as playoff seeding. So I'm a bench Williams, start Barkley, and I'm going to cut Robinson.
Okay. I like it. So what do you think on this one, Kenny?
I'm going to start Barkley as well, but I'd actually bench cut Kyron Williams and bench Bijan Robinson. I think that Blake Corum is starting to get a little bit more run in this offense for the Rams. I think also at the same time, there's a better chance that the Rams blow out Arizona. I know that would kind of help running, but also at the same time, they might throw Corum out there, try to keep Williams' legs fresh. I disagree with you, Barrett, that Atlanta doesn't have a lot to play for because they're in the division lead right now. If they beat Washington on Sunday night, they're still in the driver's seat to win the South. They're going to need a game out of Bijan, but I'm not starting over Barkley. Barkley's the guy. I don't think there's anyone I'd, start ahead of Barkley, maybe outside of Derrick Henry. So,
yeah, it's tough. I think I'm starting Kyron Williams. Again, Arizona 1-2-3 Cancun. I think Kyron Williams is going to have a big game in this game. I think they're going to rely on him. You're right. Blowout fashion could happen. That means they're going to let their second guy come in and do work, and that would piss me the hell off. But that is a possibility because I've lost a few bets this year because of blowouts and be like, all right, we're going to put in the backup running back in the third quarter. Like, what are we doing there? I lost that last week with who was it? Josh Jacobs against the Saints. I said, oh, they're gonna beat the Saints handily, and they're gonna be running the ball a lot in the second half. So Josh Jacobs is gonna have a big game, right? He's gonna have over 100 yards. No, it was 69 yards, 13 carries, 5.3 average, and then they gave it to Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks and like all these different running backs. And I was like, what are we doing here? They had over 183 rushing yards total, and Jacobs didn't have 100. Yeah. So that is always a possibility, and it's the possibility that annoys me the most. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna bench Saquon. I can see Saquon having 100 yards in this game, but like he has 100 yards, but at the same time, it's like he now in the final game of the season, you need 160, and now it's like, oh, I don't know. Now you're putting a lot, but I think he has 100 in this game. Bijan could go either way because I can see Bijan having 85 rushing yards, but then 75 passing yards and still having a good game. But since I'm just talking about rushing totals, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So that's where we're going. We're just going to do one start, one bench, one cut one because we're running out of time. So let's now get the best bets. Barrett, you named a bunch of bets throughout the day, but give me some of your best bets for this weekend.
I'm going to go upsets right now. My upset, like I said, is Green Bay over Minnesota. That's my upset bet. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm going with Jets in the points because I really don't think it'll be that important to the Bills. They'll beat them, but I'm going with the points. I think what is it, 7? I'm going to go with the Jets in the points on this, and then anytime touchdowns. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown. Like I said, George Kittle and Deebo Samuels, anytime touchdown. And then I'm thinking Chuba Hubbard, anytime touchdown. I took Jamar Chase out because you guys talked me out of Jamar Chase. You know what I'm saying? I thought about it.
I'm unsure.
I remember his pops. I played against his pops, so – yeah, he's a dog. So I mean, you kind of talked me out of that. You know what I'm saying, with the one-on-one clash right there. But yeah, that's my picks. All
right, Kenny, what you got this week?
I love the Denver Broncos. On Saturday, I talked about it to end the Cincinnati Bengals season. I love Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I just think it's a really bad matchup. And then on Sunday, I'm loving Tampa over Carolina, and I'm also loving Green Bay and then Washington on Sunday Night Football.
Okay. I like it. I'm going with Kyron Williams, like I just said, over 100 yards, and I'm going to throw him in for an anytime touchdown. I think he's able to get that. You convinced me. Mike Evans, incentives, $1 million. I'm going to go with him getting an anytime touchdown, a little red zone situation. I don't think he necessarily has the big – and he needs, in his last 2 games, he needs 182 yards to get to that 1,000 mark. And we know how much that means to him. So I think he's going to get it. So I'll go 75 plus in an anytime touchdown. I think he'll get the 1,000, but I'm unsure of how he's going to exactly get it. So I'm going to go with that for him. And a couple of other games, again, I think Josh Jacobs has a pretty good game, but I'm going to go Bijan Robinson to have an anytime touchdown and over 100 yards passing and rushing combined. So I like those individuals to have big games. All right. This has been the Sunday Spread. Once again, Sean Bell with you, Barrett Brooks with you, Kenny Henderson with you. Devin Caney will be back next week. So enjoy your holidays, enjoy your New Year's, be safe, have fun, and win a lot of money.